Hello and welcome to this week's podcast. This is Daniel, your usual host, accompanied by Josh, another regular, and our special guest today, Brent Sanders. So, Brent, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself? Who are you and what are you doing here?
Well, I'm one of those old-time immigrants to Bulgaria. I came in '91 with the Peace Corps as a teacher, and I was 2 years in Dobrich. After that, I moved to Sofia, and I've been here ever since.
So, where exactly is Dobrich?
Dobrich is near Varna. It's about maybe an hour and a half west.
Near Varna, so on the coast, right, on the Black Sea.
Well, close.
Near the Black Sea. Oh, brilliant. Okay, brilliant. So this week we're talking about a conference that Josh, Brent, and our last week's guest, Nika, went to last weekend.
No, she wasn't there.
She did not go? Okay, she was in the city, though.
She hovered around.
Yep.
She was stalking us, but she didn't come to the conference.
Excellent. Okay. So, all right. So, how was the conference? What exactly was the conference, first of all?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, it was a conference about libertarianism, and it was in Plovdiv, which is Bulgaria's second city, and it's an ancient city, and I find it to be a fascinating place. But it's a good question what the conference was about, because the vast majority of it was in Bulgarian, and I admit my Bulgarski is still not where I would like for it to be.
Whereas, Brent, you speak fluent Bulgarian.
Yes, I have to admit that I was a bit tired. I had only slept like 2 hours the previous night, so I was kind of taking the lectures as a nap opportunity.
Okay, like most students.
I was trying to pay attention, but it's hard to keep my eyes open.
Okay, so so just run us through the trip. What exactly did you do? What did you see? What did you learn? Do you regret anything? I hope not.
Regret anything? No.
And are there any big takeaways?
For me,
the big takeaway is that you would have enjoyed the keynote address. It was given by Yael Osowski.
Yes, so who is Yael?
Who is a French-Canadian-American currently living in Vienna, who is the head of the organization European Students for Liberty. Excuse me if I'm getting that wrong. He might be like the head or the face of the operas.
Manager or something.
I don't know what his official title is.
Right.
But he goes around Europe giving speeches about libertarianism and raising money and meeting big shots on behalf of this organization, European Students for Liberty. And he gave the keynote address, which was his pitch for open borders worldwide, including in North America.
Yes.
As crazy as that may sound to some people. And you would have liked that because you have a similar background, having lived all over the world. And
that's right.
Speak multiple languages, gone to a bunch of places, been treated like a foreigner in some places, questioned, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and I personally find the whole idea of the nation state absurd and outdated, but that's a debate for another time. So what exactly did Yael talk about in his keynote speech?
He's calling for open borders,
right,
worldwide.
Okay.
Even in North America.
Even in North America.
He wants free immigration into the United States from south of the border.
From anywhere.
He made many arguments, and I actually agree with everything he had to say.
All right.
I just brought it up because I thought you could relate to it.
Okay, so what were the main arguments behind the speech?
What is this, a quiz here? Okay.
Listeners need to know.
He brought up all kinds of stuff, starting with the history of immigration. He was talking about how borders, these physical borders, weren't really in existence until only about a century ago.
Right.
And he's talking a lot about how immigration benefits the economy, especially... I don't remember. I don't remember all the individual points. It's not on my mind right now.
Yeah.
But he did mention unjust privileges.
I was mostly trying to figure out how to take a picture of him and make him look good and post it on Twitter so that I could give him a shout out.
Okay, so do we have any pictures of him?
It was a struggle because my iPhone camera coupled with the dark room made it very grainy. And it didn't make him look so good, but he was throwing up a fist and it looked like he was fighting and it was pretty cool.
All right.
And he talked about one border that I visited very recently, or a wall. He brought up the West Bank wall.
The West Bank wall.
Which I asked him afterwards, and he said he's never been there. But I was just there, so that was noteworthy. And then he also, as a counter-argument, played video of Nigel Farage, who I know you despise.
Yes.
So that's further reason you should have been there.
Yeah, I just think that he's just wrong in his reasoning, but that's politics.
I think in general, he raises some very valid points about the European Union and its shortcomings, and how in reality it has drifted pretty far away from the principles it was founded upon. But we can go into that another time.
Okay, so if you don't want to talk about that today, what are we going to discuss?
Well, Mr. Host.
Yes.
What did we have on the agenda?
What did we have on the agenda?
We can talk about Plovdiv.
Plovdiv, okay.
Because, well, you weren't there.
No, I was not.
Have you been there?
Not yet. I do want to go there. You said that it's an ancient city, so it dates back to the Romans, I guess, or?
Well, you're going to have to check out my video that's going to be coming out hopefully tonight. It far predates the Romans.
Oh, wow.
Far predates the Romans.
Wow.
We're talking at least 6,000 years old.
Yes.
That is a conservative estimate. I've seen some people list it as being settled back in 6,000 BC, so 8,000 years ago.
8,000 years.
Before it was a Roman city.
Right.
It was an ancient Thracian city, and it was a Greek Macedonian city.
Wow, so this must make it one of the oldest cities in the world. Along
Correct.
with Jericho and Damascus.
According to some archaeologists, it's up there a little bit behind Jericho and Damascus. I've seen it make some top 10 lists for oldest cities in the world.
Right.
I believe I've seen it listed as high as 6. But generally speaking, it's considered one of the oldest cities in the world and the third oldest in Europe, the oldest in Europe outside of Greece.
Oldest in Europe outside of Greece?
Outside of contemporary Greece.
Contemporary Greece, okay. Oh, wow.
And it's got ancient artifacts throughout the city, including the Roman theater, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Brilliant. So,
but I'm not the Bulgaria expert here. Why am I talking?
Yeah.
I don't know. You love to talk, I guess.
How many times have you been to Plovdiv?
Probably 5 or 6 times in total.
And how does it strike you?
Yeah.
Because it's a modern city right now. I mean, it's got a European promenade. It's got people walking up and down the street, but it's...
I haven't been to Plovdiv for maybe 10 years, and it was beautiful back then. But now, of course, I guess what they call Euro funds here have been coming in, and so the facades of the buildings have been fixed up, and there's a very positive, optimistic atmosphere in the city. Although it was too hot for me to venture out to go see Old Town again. Old Town must have been
Old Town
fantastic.
is beautiful.
Yeah.
So there's a part of the city, it's up on a hill, and they've got 7 hills there like Rome.
Okay.
And the old city still has cobblestone streets, and it has very beautiful architecture. In the 18th century, or I think it was the 19th century, it was towards the end of the Ottoman Empire, there was a Bulgarian nationalist revival there.
Right.
And there were all these homes that were built in the old city there, and they stand there to this day, and it's a very interesting architecture, and it was supposed to be this Bulgarian Renaissance within the Ottoman Empire.
Right.
And you can go there, walk through the cobblestone streets, and there's visitors everywhere. A lot of the houses you can walk into. Some of them are museums now. It's a very fascinating place. It's a very beautiful place.
Okay.
They're on the hill, and you can go to the top of the hill, and there are ruins up there. I'm not sure if they're Roman. And you can look down at the whole city. It's very gorgeous, and the whole city is full of remnants from this empire and that empire, especially Roman. And the old city makes...
Roman, because that's the upper
Yeah,
layer.
that's a good point. That's a very good point. There's a city, like many places, there's a city underneath the city.
Oh, wow.
And
or cities underneath the cities.
Cities, yes. And a little bit of it has been excavated.
Right.
But most
But as
of
soon
it...
as they hit the Roman ruins, they don't want to go lower because you're destroying architecture history. So they only go down to the closest level.
Right.
They don't go down further.
So how do we know that they are the cities below it? Do they perform radio scans?
There must be. I don't know.
I'm no archaeologist. I don't know, but I know that
it's 6,000 years old.
Yeah,
Smiata.
I know that. For instance, part of the Roman Stadium, I believe, has only been partially excavated. The majority of it remains underground, I believe.
Right.
I believe that's the case. So you can only imagine what the Thracian city and the Greek Macedonian city is like.
Oh, brilliant. And it's been continuously inhabited for 6,000 or so years, correct?
As far as I know,
From
yes.
my understanding, yes. I don't know what all happened during the Thracian period. Although, actually, my guess is yes, because I read that the Thracians reconquered it from the Greeks or Macedonians.
Right.
Depending on who you... Remember, we've got this whole Greek-Macedonian issue.
Yeah.
It always tends to rear its ugly head.
Yes. And who exactly were the Thracians for our listeners?
Now that's a really very strange question because supposedly they disappeared. Nobody really knows where they went. Modern genetics suggests that the Bulgarians are the inheritance of the Thracian culture and even their genes. I mean, 40%. They say 40%. I don't know what that means. 40% of their genes are Thracian compared to Macedonians or Greeks or whatever.
Right.
But the Thracians, they were the originators of Spartacus.
Spartacus. Yes.
And also Orpheus and Dionysius. And so they have been subsumed into the Greek mythology.
Yes.
But at the time, it was a separate race, separate tribe, separate...
Right.
So.
But I was under the impression that the Bulgarian people originated in Central Asia. So
there's a lot of
theories
controversy about that.
Okay.
I mean, I tend to believe that they came from the river Volga.
You got me on
Volga.
that.
Volga in the Ukraine, right?
Yes.
Yes.
But back then, I think that you had like different peoples or tribes or whatever you want to call them. They were spread around Europe.
Yes.
And they had overlapping territories in some senses, or in some senses it might have been no man's land, or it was just before there were borders.
Yes.
Same situation. So I mean, people were everywhere, and you had the Bulgarians. They had centers in Volga. They had centers in Transnistria.
Transnistria?
How do you say that in English? It's like...
Are you talking about Transnistria?
Yes. Transnistria.
Transnistria, yeah.
So they had different centers in different places, but so did the Thracians, so did I guess probably the Greeks and the Celts even back then, and so...
Oh, wow.
It's really hard to say, I mean, because this is the crossroads between Europe and Asia, everybody was...
This part of the world is actually very interesting because, borders have changed a lot over history. You had different empires, the Romans, the Ottomans, the Russians... all sorts of various influences, and Huns even at some point.
Yes.
Which is...
Well, Hungary is supposed to be named after the Huns.
Yes, which I'm not sure about that, because their language is not related to...
it's not Indo-European.
Yeah, no, that it is.
So that would suggest some sort of foreign or somebody from the outside, from a different part of the world coming in.
By the way, Brent, you are a bit of a linguist.
I do like...
Are you a cunning linguist?
Oh, that was a good one.
How would you like to... We were in Macedonia a couple of weeks ago. Did you pick up any of the curse?
No, but Macedonia is interesting because, well, for many reasons we've discussed already, but the language is so similar to Bulgarian that Brent's essentially fluent in Macedonian.
Well, that's stretching it a little bit.
Okay, it's stretching it, but when you speak, they understand you, and when they speak to you, you understand them. And from my understanding...
Depends on the person, but 70%, let's say, perhaps.
Yeah.
Okay, and from my understanding, it's similar with Serbia and Serbian.
Serbia used to be Bulgarian territory, so it's normal that the languages are similar. And Bulgarians tend to tell me that they understand Serbian quite well. Serbians also understand Bulgarian. So when we were in Macedonia, there was one guy who said, everybody from Cherna Gora, Black Forest, it's a different name in English.
Black Forest.
Black Forest in Germany?
No, Cherna Gora is it's the Bulgarian name for Croatia and Serbia.
Right.
Liberland?
It doesn't matter.
You got me on that one.
Like everybody from Bosnia to Bulgaria understands each other.
Okay, brilliant.
Croatia, yes or no?
Croatia also, they understand each other.
Okay.
It's very similar. I mean, I've watched movies like No Man's Land, very good movie.
Right.
Where I understand, again, maybe it's not as much as Macedonian, but 40 to 60%.
Okay, what exactly is No Man's Land about?
That was about the war, the Bosnian-Serbian War, or Bosnian-Croatian War.
Right.
It's just an amazing film. You just have to check it out. It's called Ničija Zemlja.
Okay.
But it's about these guys who are like stuck in this territory where they're supposed to be defending against, I don't know, the other side and all these crazy Balkan characters, because Balkan films are about crazy characters. You have all kinds of characters here in the Balkans, and whether it's Black Cat, White Cat, Underground, or all of these movies, they say that you have to have lived in the Balkans to understand it.
Okay.
Well, you have lived in the Balkans.
Yes.
Yes.
So can you give us some insight into all this?
I think what Daniel's trying to get at is he's really itching to know how you curse in Serbian. Am I correct? Was that what you were trying to ask Brent?
Well, you were leading it in, right? But
okay. Well, seeing as you're so desperate to hear about these swear words.
Okay, so let's do some quick ones.
Yes.
This is really important. I expect all our audience to be taking notes at this point.
Yeah, because the first step to learning any language is learning the swear words.
Says a polyglot.
Yeah.
So we'll start with Macedonian. I mean, this one is kind of sweet in comparison with Serbian.
Oh, we get a whole
Macedonian.
range. We're going to cover the whole Balkans in terms of our
I don't want to
cursing.
cover Bulgarian because it's very basic. It's like basically ebon, which is fuck. And you can, ebon ti majkata.
A Maikata is mother, the mother.
Bati majkata, it fucked you up. It's like they use the same terminology over and over.
Right.
But Macedonia is similar. So in Macedonian, my friend Boris taught me this years ago. He said, "Kete ebam gas pichka da ti plat," which means I'll fuck you in the ass to make your pussy cry.
To make your pussy gray. Cry. Oh wow.
Yeah, this is no longer a family.
Like this
is no longer a family podcast, but we shall carry on.
When was it a family?
We shall carry on. How do you say something of that nature in Serbian?
In Serbian, I'll start with one of the lesser offensive. It's still extremely offensive. But they say, because there's the Muslims and the Christians.
Right.
They say "Jebem ti Bogu."
Okay.
Which means I fuck your God.
Oh.
So we're getting all ethnic now.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what
what a
Serb would say to an Albanian?
Well, the funny thing is that here you don't use those kinds of epithets against people you don't know. You only use them around friends or people you've known for a long time.
Right.
So they use it more as jokes.
Okay.
But the last one that I will share is Jebem ti mrtvo sestro u ladno dupe.
Well, so that's fuck something.
Well, sestro is similar to Bulgarian, sestra,
Okay.
sestra,
Sister.
Sister. Right.
So mrtvo is similar to mrtv, which is dead.
Right.
So it's Jebem ti mrtvo sestro, I fuck your dead sister.
Wow.
Oh, u ladno dupe, which means in her cold ass.
In a cold ass. Yeah. Oh, so you
can say it
wait
about
a
your
bit.
mother,
Okay.
you can say it about
Yeah.
your father, I suppose. Crazy stuff.
Yeah.
This is the
absolutely.
Balkan. Are we just waiting for
I
the
think
time
I
to
just
run
got
out?
balkanized.
Oh, we have 8 more minutes.
Yeah, we have a few more minutes.
We've got a few minutes to reflect on the
Yeah.
boom you just delivered.
But these
Is it
swear
too
words
much?
seem to be about, fucking relatives and gods and people close to you.
Of course.
Yeah. What about fucking the individual that you're speaking to? Or telling them to get fucked?
That would be so provocative, as far as I understand here in the Balkans,
Yeah.
that you would only say it if you thought you could win the fight, or you wanted to lose.
Wow. So even more provocative than, insulting somebody's mother.
Yes, because the mother thing has been around. It's so common. It's so widespread. It's like a joke. I mean,
Right.
You can say it as a joke.
Uh-huh.
One thing I've learned here in Bulgaria is that it really does not matter what you say.
Uh-huh.
It matters how you say it.
Oh.
So you can be as rude as you absolutely want, as long as you're not serious.
Right.
And
Are you
people
trying to
will
get
accept it.
beaten up, Daniel?
No, I'm not. No. I do everything in my power not to.
Well, maybe you think you're going to win the fight. And you just want to boast a little bit by whipping out one of those sayings that Brent just unleashed.
Yeah.
About dead, cold body parts.
Tell it to any of your friends and they will laugh. I swear to God. And you will become
Well, at least now we have a
like
recording
hit
of
at the
it,
party,
so-
Yes.
In case that you get in a confrontation and you're thinking, how would I tell this guy to go shove it in his dead, cold sister's rectum? Well, then I could just listen to the replay of my podcast with Brent, and I'm going to know how to give it to this guy.
Well, I expect you to listen and to try to repeat, improve your pronunciation, your timing, etc., etc.
You're a
practice.
language teacher, so
Yes.
will you work with me on my
Of
Balkan
course.
curses?
I've been helping you with it all along.
You
learned
you
another
did
word from
teach
me the other day.
you did teach me one of those curses in Macedonia. I forget which one.
You wrote it down.
Yeah, I wrote it down on my phone, but I don't think I
You should
wrote
check
down.
your phone.
I don't think I wrote down the translation.
Wait, I
I
have a
might have
question
set
for
up a
both of you
Google
guys.
alert.
Yes.
Because we're running out of time, I have a question for both of you. I've been away from the United States for 24 years, and I left because I didn't feel comfortable there, and I felt more alive when I was traveling.
You've not been back since then.
No, of course I've been back. But my question for both of you is, what do you dislike about your home countries? What do you like more about staying here?
I'll start.
Yes.
I love to travel, and I love the cultural experience of being here, the challenge of learning the language, meeting people from all over the world, hearing their stories, and I'm very interested in the politics of the region. So I don't miss my country, but it doesn't mean that view the United States poor. Being here and seeing a lot of poverty and seeing lack of progress since the communist era, it makes me feel grateful to have grown up with what I did. So,
What
So,
about you, Daniel?
What about me? Well, I have very itchy feet, so I tend to move a lot. Bulgaria is actually the place I've stayed the longest in my adult life. Second longest in my adult life. Soon to be the longest. The longest was Brazil in Sao Paulo, a city of 20 million people, not to be confused with Rio. So if you guys want to know what to do in Sao Paulo, the thing to do there is to go to Rio.
That's
Ouch.
what they do for the weekend?
Yes, yeah.
Ouch.
Well, Sao Paulo is very industrial as far as I understand.
Yeah, industrial. It's it's everybody's very serious over there, very serious, and it's close enough to Rio, which is of course party central with Carnival, the beach, alcohol, and gorgeous women, but not as beautiful as Bulgarian or Serbian, right?
Not as beautiful, or I mean, are you just being political?
No, I'm being honest. Yeah.
So
of course, in the rear end section.
Yes.
Brazilian girls, they
After
trump
all
the
we've
world.
said in this podcast,
So
you
we
really need to
finalized
restrict yourself to rear end.
Now we know that he's an ass man.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
can't you just say it outright after we talked about fucking old dead bodies?
Sisters, gods.
Okay, bums. You happy now?
I'm glad I'm not the one editing this podcast. You're gonna listen to this and think, did I really just say that?
So it's not one take after
But
all.
no, it is one take.
It is one take, yes.
But
So it's
Brent,
not
you're an English teacher, and in a sense, you're also a Bulgarian teacher. At least
Yes.
a little bit to me. So this is all a learning experience, and I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
For me, it's great. I'm learning too.
So I'd like to take a moment to plug our hopefully soon to
We
be
didn't
sponsors.
go to Airbnb this time.
You didn't go to Airbnb?
No,
Why didn't you go
because
to?
we had a friend whose apartment we stayed at.
Oh, I'm really sorry that you did not go to Airbnb.
I'm not. It was very cool, and I very appreciate Dan, my new buddy,
Yeah.
letting
Yeah,
us
he was so
stay at his
kind
place.
to let us stay there. Yeah,
Oh, fantastic.
very nice place.
So Dan is he's a Plovdiv native, correct?
He is a Plovdiv native who's currently a music student in Sofia, and I'm trying to recruit him for a future podcast.
Excellent.
In case he becomes really famous.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Just in case.
Not because he's a nice guy.
Nice guys finish last.
Nice guys finished last. Okay.
How true.
So, what else do we want to talk about this evening,
Mr. Host.
Mr. Host? Yeah, I'm being a terrible host today. I do apologize, dear listeners, all 20 of you.
Hey, I think we're doing a little better than that.
Are we? Oh, brilliant.
And we might have some ways to pump up our numbers.
Through our libertarian friends?
No.
No?
No.
Who through then?
Through our crazy guest who was on last week.
Ah, crazy guest Nika. So,
She might send out the podcast to half the world for no apparent reason.
brilliant.
Exposure.
But it's important because how else are you going to learn Balkan curses?
Exactly.
And it might help the listeners who do not live in the Balkans or not from the Balkans get a little bit of that Balkan experience, that authentic Balkan experience that we get when we go to Macedonia and we're walking through the wreckage in Kumanovo and there's a 7-Up graffiti that supposedly is some Serbian message. Fill me in, I don't know what it meant.
This cool,
meant 7-Up.
refreshing 7-Up.
That was from last week's podcast. How much is 7-Up paying you, Daniel?
Nothing yet. Nothing yet. But
What
they
deal
will.
What deal did you secure after last week's episode in which we mentioned
7-Up?
7-Up?
7-Up, cool, delicious 7-Up.
Do you even drink 7-Up?
No, I haven't had a 7-Up in a long, long time. I don't even know if they sell it in Bulgaria. Do they? They don't.
I haven't even
7-Up?
seen a 7-Eleven.
They used to sell it. I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't drink such fizzy drinks. I think that they're probably not so good for your
For the stomach?
metabolism.
Oh yeah, maybe we'll have to have you back on the top diet.
Ooh, diet is interesting.
Yeah, we haven't been talking that at all.
Like, first of all, like, try to get rid of all the pesticides that are in your diet, including Coca-Cola. Well, they use it to kill weeds in India.
Really?
Sure, it's
Oh,
cheaper
wow.
Oh, you're
than pesticides.
full of fun facts.
Wow,
yeah,
wow,
that's
wow.
true. I mean, after the GMO industry caused like 20,000 farmers, Indian farmers, to murder themselves to commit suicide, because they couldn't deal with the situation. Then they decided maybe we'll just use Coca-Cola to kill the pest.
We might have to have some other episode explaining that.
Yes, yes, we will.
That was above my head.
No, yeah, we'll have to have you back on, Brent.
I would be glad to join.
Yeah, because you're not going anywhere anytime soon.
But can you curse in Albanian?
No, I don't know Albanian or Romanian.
Alright, well, Romanian is like Italian, it's a Latin language.
That's right.
But what the heck is Albanian?
It's also, I don't know.
And we were here in Albania when we were in Macedonia.
What I know as like an amateur linguist is that, so a lot of the ancient Greek names only make sense in Albanian. They don't make sense in Greek.
Ooh.
Thracian or Bulgarian.
Really?
So when we hear talk of Greater Albania, does that include Greece?
Parts of Greece. Parts of what is now the
Macedonian Greece.
Parts of what is now considered to be Greece.
Oh, the Balkans. Oh, joy, the Balkans.
Yeah, it's a wonderful clusterfuck.
Maybe I cannot fail to mention that here. I mean, there is a word in English which they very rarely use in Bulgarian, but it's balkanize.
Yes.
Balkanize.
Yeah.
Which means to divide and conquer. You set people against each other and then.
Right.
Yeah, divide and conquer. It's the same thing.
It's very commonly used in English.
Yeah, but Bulgarians and like Balkan people don't even know the word, and they're like, "What is that?"
Well, maybe they were the ones who got divided.
Of course.
That's very interesting. That's very, very interesting.
How do you say it in Bulgarski?
Balkanizirum.
Balkanizirum.
Very good, Josh. Your pronunciation is quite good.
Благодаря много.
Is it not Nogo, Благодаря?
I believe it can be either way around. And
Bulgarian is one of those crazy languages where you can start the sentence. In English, you start with the subject and the verb and the object and where, when, why, how, etc. And in Bulgarian, you can start with the subject.
Right.
You can start with the verb. You can start with the object. It doesn't matter.
Okay, so like Latin or German.
The forms of the pronouns change slightly depending on which order you put them in.
Yes.
the grammar is very confusing, but as someone trying to learn, it seems to give me an excuse to just formulate sentences in whichever mishmash of words I so choose.
Well, that makes sense, but because I have experience with this, I would suppose that what you're trying to do is, everybody does this. When you're learning a foreign language, you try to translate from your own language. You have an idea, you have a sentence, you have a syntactical structure in your mind.
Right.
And you try to translate it, and you're going to follow the same syntax, the same word order when you're trying to translate. But if you really want to learn Bulgarian, what you do is you start listening to their word order, and then if you listen to it long enough, you start using their word order automatically.
Right.
Instead of trying to translate, because we have in English, it's very strict. Subject, verb, object, I ate lunch. And they're like, obiad, jadu. They don't even say that. They say zakusih, obiadvach. But, let's see. I rode the bike, as kar kololotu. They say kololotu kar.
Okay, so bike I rode.
The bike I rode.
Yes.
Yeah. How's the Mystica?
Mystica's fantastic. So.
Well, are you gonna plug Mystica?
Yeah. So this is Mastika. Which brand of Mastika?
And is there going to be a photo of the Mystica
Peshtera.
when we publish this on YouTube?
Yes, there will. Peshtera, Mastika. It's one of the cheapest in the supermarkets. It's delicious and...
Are you going to plug the store where you bought it?
Which store
Are they
did
a
you buy it
potential
from?
advertiser?
I bought it from the store at the next cross street.
Okay.
When you're going north on the canal
Yeah.
from your front door.
So it wasn't...
Which makes no
I don't
sense
know the name of the street.
to everyone who does not know where Daniel lives.
Yeah.
Who else? Why are they going to ask which store we're buying it from?
Oh, we're just joking because Daniel loves plugging everything
Yeah.
In the off chance that someone like 7-Up's going to become an advertiser, a sponsor of the podcast.
Yeah. Obviously, Coca-Cola is not going to sponsor us.
Well, I think Pešterska will probably be interested in sponsoring. Pešter.
Mona?
So, Pestera.
Oh, that's what we're drinking?
Yeah.
This, you said it's very cheap, but it's like one of the best quality.
Absolutely.
So this is like Arak?
So it's cheap and quality.
Yeah.
So
I haven't had any of this. Is this vodka with licorice taste?
It's the same.
Yes, it's like Lebanese arak. It goes cloudy when you mix it with water, like all good aniseed-based drinks.
Rakia is so much better.
Because it doesn't cloud up? Or...
By cloud up, do you mean what the drink physically looks like? How there's white stuff circling around?
Yeah.
No, I don't care what it looks like. I care what it tastes like and what it's made out of. And,
so Rakia tastes so good.
well, I'm not some old-timer Bulgarian who can sit down for lunch and pound out 3 full glasses of Rakia, but
some
as far as
Bulgarian or Nika from last week.
she's a crazy drinker. The guest we had on last week.
Drinks like...
But she was sober when we did
like
the
a frat
podcast
boy.
and when we did Chase Around Zayev and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Intrepid reporter.
Fantastic. So
We've been on many tangents
Yeah.
today, but I think it's very fitting because this has been a balkanizing podcast. Can I use that term?
Balkanizing means dividing and conquering, so...
Well, it
who
doesn't
are we
necessarily
dividing
mean
here?
conquering. But
Yeah, it's just
there's been a
dividing,
lot
isn't it?
There's been it depends who you ask, but there's been a lot of division. We've figured out if we're gonna be ethnic Serbs, how to really, really, really piss off some Albanians.
Yeah.
And we talked about all kinds of disgusting stuff that Macedonians might say to each other or Bulgarians might say to each other. It's very fitting for the Balkans.
For fun, come on. It's like a joke. It's like they love dirty jokes. I mean,
Who doesn't?
from an American point of view, when I came here, perhaps I was very sheltered as a child, but okay, I'm going to share some Bulgarian. Shall I?
Absolutely.
Go for it.
Go ahead.
So, they used to, probably they still do in the smaller cities, but here it's already European standards, it's like you don't make sexist jokes. But they used to say, Žena v legloto e kato cigara na masата.
Alright, something about a woman...
Pitaš.
Okay, I lost track.
No, let's start. Žena v legloto. A woman in bed. E kato cigari na masата. It's like cigarettes
If a
on the
cigarette,
table. You don't ask.
Oh. You just
She's
do.
in bed, you just take it.
Разбирам.
So, I mean, this was pretty shocking for me. I was not prepared for it. It was
Okay, but
it was a difficult transition.
you must have been cut out for something. In the early 90s, you picked up and moved from California to the Balkans. Shit wasn't going down in Bulgaria, but who moves to the Balkans in the 90s?
Shit wasn't going down? What are you talking about? It was the fall of the Berlin Wall, practically the same era.
Okay, but
2 years
after
before.
the breakup of Yugoslavia, stuff got very violent in the Western Balkans as you were arriving here.
What was that, 93? I mean, I remember that. I mean, people either hated me or they loved me because I was an American. I mean, that's just, it was foreign influence here in the Balkans. And of course, maybe Bulgarians don't love Serbians or Croatians or whatever, but if some foreign entity bombs them from a different continent, then of course, I mean, Bulgarians didn't like it very much. And
Which is normal,
I think
right?
that's normal, yeah, of course. You don't want intervention in your own affairs. Nobody does.
Well, that came late in the 90s, but you were certainly here for that.
Yeah, I went through that whole period. I mean, I've been here the whole time, so...
But in Kosovo, they love Bill Clinton. I can't wait to go see this giant
Why?
Bill
Ask
Clinton
yourself
statue.
why.
Well, he bombed them into existence as opposed to out of existence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, and who then? I mean, before then, it was a disputed territory. Always has been.
Yeah.
It's the homeland of the Serbs? Is the homeland of the Macedonians?
Right.
Is
Not
the
the
homeland of
Macedonians.
the Albanians? It's sort of like the Temple Mount, you know?
Well, then again, I shouldn't say anything does not belong to the Macedonians, because, you know, according to the Macedonian Struggle for Independence Museum,
Yes.
half the world is Macedonia, because
Yeah. According to
Mr.
them.
Alexander conquered it all, so, you know, it's all still Macedonia.
So Macedonia should extend from what? From present-day
All the way
Macedonia
to
to
Iran.
Egypt, all the way to basically India. So its capital ought to be
Yeah,
Baghdad,
India,
correct?
India, what am I saying?
Yeah.
All the way to India.
Yeah. So that would be bizarre. Wouldn't it? Macedonian capital in Baghdad. But you know, that's history.
Yeah, in history you have all sorts of, you know, different groups spreading out across the Middle East and Europe and setting up different positions, I mean, different fortresses and
Yes.
different cities, different areas. So, I mean, now America does.
Whose turn will it be next?
Whoever is against America.
China? Russia?
Too big to attack directly. Maybe, I mean, they've been going after Iran. They still won't do it, I suppose.
Oh, you mean who gets bombed next?
Who gets bombed next? It could be anybody. I mean,
I have a feeling my bet's Syria, unless they're already bombing Syria.
dude,
Well,
there was
they're
a document
bombing.
that just came out that says that
Oh,
ISIS was
Daesh,
actually
yes.
created by the CIA.
We're going off on so many tangents.
Yeah.
Which is normal.
So I think that it's time to call it a day. So we'll have you back on, Brent. You know,
С голямо удовольствие. Great pleasure.
we'll talk about diets, the Balkans again. Of course, I don't know when we'll next be able to record because, you know, I'll be traveling. Josh will be traveling shortly after me. But we will make it happen. We'll make it happen. Do you have any closing remarks?
Just, you know, libertarianism, like go for personal freedom and individual rights.
Free the weed, man. We gotta free the weed.
Yeah.
Free the flesh too, dude.
Don't tread on me.
You need to say that with a little more enthusiasm,
Don't tread on me,
motherfucker.
Don't even come
motherfucker.
close, motherfucker.
All right, brilliant.
We made our way around the world in 45 minutes.
Yes. Yeah.
Very nicely done.
Next time we'll do it in 40 minutes, like our friend Jules Verne wrote about Phileas Fogg. Is that right?
Phileas Fogg, I think that was The Raven. Who wrote The Raven?
No, that's Edgar Allan Poe.
He didn't write Phileas Fogg?
Phileas Fogg was in Around the World in 40 Days.
And every time we try to end this podcast, we start a new one
Yeah.
and attach it to what we've already been working on.
Okay, so that's goodbye from me, Daniel. Goodbye from Josh.
Are you sure?
I think so.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, I think that's a goodbye. And
До виждане, до всички, да сте живи и здрави.
Всичко хубаво.
in English?
Goodbye, everybody. May you be healthy and alive.
Oh, nice. Lovely.
And if you have a chasha rakia, na zdrave.
Yes. Rakia is good for you.
Na zdravie.
Na zdrave.
Cheek.